Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. She stood in the doorway of the kitchen, arms crossed, expression tight. I had just taken the lasagna out of the oven, her favorite, and set the plates down like I always did on Sundays. It was our ritual, or at least it used to be. "I'm not hungry," Selena said, her tone sharp and final. I looked up, confused but calm. "Did something happen?" She shrugged, avoiding eye contact. "No, I just think I'll start eating dinner with Mom from now on, once I move in with her." The fork slipped from my hand. It clattered against the plate, a sound louder than it had any right to be. "You're moving in with Elra." I kept my voice steady, though I felt my stomach sink. "When I turned 18, she said, it's legal then. And I don't think this setup makes sense anymore." My throat tightened. "What setup?" She looked right at me, then jaw set, voice cold. "You're not my real mother, Maris." It took me a second to breathe. I thought I misheard her, but the words just sat there between us, heavy and loud, louder than anything she'd ever said to me before. "I mean biologically," she added, as if softening the phrasing made it any less brutal. "Dante gets me. Mom believes in what I want. They're not trying to force college down my throat. They want to help me build my brand." Her words came fast, practiced, like she'd rehearsed them in her head all weekend. She mentioned the Maserati rides, the Instagram reels, said I had natural energy, and Dante's plan to turn her into a teen wellness influencer. I listened. That's all I did. I didn't interrupt. I didn't cry. I just looked at the girl I had raised for 9 years and tried to find some piece of the child I knew. There was none. When she finished, she gave a small, dismissive smile. "I just thought you should know." I nodded once quietly. Then I reached across the table, turned off the oven, and said, "Thank you for being honest. I'll make some decisions tonight, too." She blinked, surprised by my calm, but I'd already turned away, gathering plates that no longer had anyone to eat from them. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made a list: school, car, fund, responsibilities. By morning, I was ready. The first night, Era didn't come home. Selena was 5. I remember sitting on the edge of her twin bed, brushing her curls back while she tried to understand why her mother hadn't said goodnight. I told her Era had to go somewhere important, that she'd be back in the morning. I didn't believe it, but Selena needed to. She didn't come back the next morning or the one after that. By the time the custody papers were signed, I was already 3 states away, living in a studio apartment with a man named Paul, who sold supplements out of the back of a CrossFit gym. I didn't fight for visitation, didn't ask for weekends. My attorney submitted one sentence: "My client does not wish to pursue custody at this time." That's how it began. Not with drama or screaming or court battles, just silence. I didn't plan to become a mother. I had just turned 30 and was 2 years into a demanding project engineering role at a firm downtown. My life was spreadsheets, hard hats, and deadlines. But Selena became mine the moment her world cracked open and I stepped in. Not because I had to, but because no one else would. I didn't have much. I lived in a 2-bedroom rental and drove an old Ford that wheezed on hills. But I made it work. I found a secondhand piano for her music lessons. When she had nightmares, I curled up beside her. Even when I had a 6 a.m. site meeting, every time she said, "Mommy," I never corrected her. Private school wasn't in the plan. But after a 5th-grade teacher told her she wasn't leadership material, I toured 6 campuses until I found one where the girls raised their hands without fear. I refinanced my car, took freelance permitting jobs on weekends, and enrolled her at St. Ren's at $27,000 a year. There were no vacations. I skipped dental cleanings and haircuts, sometimes meals. But she had what she needed: summer camps, birthday parties, the car she wanted at 16. I said yes to things I couldn't always afford because I wanted her to feel chosen. She never asked where Elra was. Not really, and I never brought it up. I thought we had a rhythm, unspoken but secure. Until last night, until that sentence, "I'm not your real mother." And now, as I stare at her untouched plate and the cold lasagna, I realize there's one more sacrifice left to make. One that won't come with a thank you. One that might be the hardest of them all. It reappeared like a storm that had been building for years and finally decided to arrive on a sunny day. Her entrance wasn't subtle. It was a white Maserati with red leather seats and tinted windows parked outside my house like a declaration of superiority. Selena came back from that first weekend glowing. She had a fresh manicure, a new leather tote bag, and 1,000 new words for what I was doing wrong. Mom said, "You don't really support me," she said on Monday morning, her voice breezy like she was talking about the weather. She says I should be building my brand now, not wasting time on algebra and essays. I kept my hands still as I poured her orange juice. "Your brand?" "I could be an ambassador by next month. Dante knows people in wellness circles. They said I have natural magnetism." Dante, the boyfriend, a 40-something man with veneers too bright for winter and a handshake like a soft apology. He had introduced himself at pickup last week by complimenting my landscaping and suggesting we collaborate on an outdoor content shoot with Selena. I declined. Selena started coming home later. Her bedroom, once filled with books and watercolor sketches, now had a ring light and boxes of PR samples. She stopped talking about college. She stopped asking me to review her essays. And then while we sat in the car outside the grocery store, she said it. She began looking out the window. "Elijah just gets me. She listens. She doesn't judge every idea I have. She actually believes in what I want to do." I didn't say anything. I just kept my eyes on the cart corral in the parking lot. She's my mom, my real mom. It didn't come with venom. That's what made it worse. It came like a fact she had finally accepted, one she expected me to agree with. I nodded slowly because there was nothing else to do, because no fight I picked would bring her back from wherever she was already standing. When we got home, I watched her walk into the house with her tote bag slung high on her shoulder like armor. I sat in the car a few moments longer and thought about everything I had built for her. Then I went inside, opened my laptop, and began drafting the emails I would send the next morning. I waited until Monday morning. Selena was halfway through her cereal, scrolling on her phone when I slid the envelope across the table. She didn't look up right away. "What's this?" she asked, still tapping her screen. "Withdrawal forms. From Lakeside. I've already spoken to the administration. You'll have 5 school days before they remove you from the roster." Her spoon clinked against the bowl. "What are you talking about?" "I'm terminating your enrollment," I said, my voice even effective this week. She blinked like I was speaking a language she didn't recognize. "You can't just—" "Mom said I'm staying through senior year. Era isn't paying the tuition. I am. And now I'm not." I stood up, walked to the counter, and retrieved the spare keys to the BMW. I placed them gently on the table. "You'll leave the car parked in the garage this week. I've scheduled a pickup with the dealer for Friday." Her voice rose. "You're selling my car. It's under my name. I'm reclaiming it. You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious." She stood, chair screeching against the floor. "This is because of what I said. You're punishing me." I met her eyes. "I'm adjusting to the new arrangement. If I'm not your mother, then I don't owe you a mother's sacrifices." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "You're being petty." "No, I'm being practical," she scoffed, arms folded. "What about my college fund locked reserved for my child right now? That isn't you?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Anger flushed across her cheeks, but she couldn't form a reply. I could see the panic behind her defiance. She was calculating, figuring out how far this might actually go. "Fine," she said after a moment. "I'll talk to Mom. She'll cover it." I nodded. "That's your decision." She stormed out, slamming her bedroom door behind her. I heard drawers opening and closing, the unmistakable chaos of someone trying to reassert control over a situation they never expected to lose. I sat down and finished my coffee. That afternoon, I called my bank and redirected the auto insurance. I listed the car online. I updated my budgeting spreadsheet, reclassified the college savings under pending. The numbers didn't make me feel better, but they steadied me. At dinner, the silence between us was so sharp, I didn't bother filling it. The next morning, the school called. She hadn't shown up. It started with a caption under a heavily filtered photo of Selena staring out a cafe window. "Not all wounds leave bruises. Sometimes the worst pain comes from the people who raise you." I didn't even see it at first. One of my coworkers forwarded it to me with a concerned message. "Is everything okay at home?" Within hours, the post had nearly 200 likes and a cascade of supportive comments. Some from kids at Lakeside, others from strangers. Sending love. You're so brave for speaking your truth. And then buried in the replies, she never deserved that woman anyway. That woman, me, I didn't respond. Not on Instagram, not by text, but I took screenshots of everything, every edit, every reply. I copied the post into a folder on my desktop labeled for records. By evening, the messages started rolling in. Elra called first. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the texts, 47 of them, in less than 3 hours. You've traumatized my daughter. You're emotionally abusive. My cousin says what you're doing is illegal. You can't just abandon her like this. You're sick. She's a child. You'll be hearing from our lawyer. I didn't respond to any of it except once. If you believe you have a legal claim, feel free to pursue it. She didn't like that. The next voicemail came with tears and shouting in the background. Elra was screaming that I was destroying Selena's future, that Dante couldn't possibly afford the tuition, and that I was bitter, controlling, and jealous. I muted her number and forwarded everything to my friend Naomi, who's an attorney. She told me to keep doing what I was doing, document, stay quiet, and don't escalate. The worst part wasn't the messages, it was the way our extended family began to divide. My cousin Lena messaged me, I don't know what's going on, but if Selena needs a place to stay, we have a guest room. My aunt posted something vague on Facebook about people who think money makes them a parent. It got 5 likes. I knew who it was aimed at, but for every passive jab, there was someone else who saw through it. My brother Alan texted, she's spiraling. Just keep your head down. You did everything for that kid. I went to bed that night, exhausted, but strangely clear. By the next morning, Selena's post had made its way to Lakeside's faculty group chat. The call from Lakeside came late Friday afternoon. The administrator's tone was clipped, but polite. Selena's tuition has not been paid. As per policy, she will be officially withdrawn from the school roster at the end of business today. I thanked her and hung up. I had nothing left to say. I had said everything a week ago. That evening, Selena came home in a state I can only describe as breathless. Her makeup was smudged, and her tote bag hung lower than usual, dragging slightly on the floor. They kicked me out, she said, not looking at me. Lakeside. Just like that? I didn't speak. I knew she wasn't talking to me so much as venting at the walls. I called Mom. She said she was working on it, but then she stopped. Rico's in jail. I looked up from my laptop. Jail. She nodded, biting the inside of her cheek. They said he was selling fake workout stuff, supplements like powder with flour or something. One of his clients ended up in the ER. I closed my screen. I didn't say I told you so. I didn't say anything because humiliation was already peeling the shine off everything she had clung to. By Monday, she was enrolled at Prescott High, the closest public school in our district. Her first day back in a shared cafeteria was a blow she didn't see coming. Curated uniform, no luxury lunch delivery, just a plastic tray, an underfunded guidance office, and kids who didn't care who she used to be. That evening, I heard her crying in the bathroom. She didn't speak to me over dinner. She didn't need to. I could see it written all over her. How quickly she stopped returning texts. How none of her influencer followers offered help. How no one from Lakeside even asked where she went. She'd spent years crafting a version of herself wrapped in boutique brands, extracurriculars, and curated photos. Now she was standing in a crowded hallway with kids who saw right through it all. At night, I heard her scrolling her phone, but the usual ping of notifications was gone. Silence has a sound when you're used to being watched. The car had been picked up that morning. I heard her watching from her bedroom window, but she never came out. By Thursday, she stopped posting entirely. I found it on my nightstand after work, folded once, no envelope, her handwriting just slightly uneven, like her hand had shaken. Mom. I sat down on the edge of the bed before reading the rest. I don't know how to say this out loud, so I'm writing instead. I know I said some awful things. I know I tried to make you the villain because it made things easier. Filled my head with so many ideas. How I was being held back, how you didn't understand me, how I could have more. I believed her. I wanted to believe her because it made me feel like I didn't have to try so hard anymore, like I could just skip the hard work and be someone important. I didn't see what I was trading. You never made promises. You just showed up over and over every time. I didn't get that until it stopped. I don't care about Lakeside. I don't care about the car. I don't even care if you never trust me again. But I do care about you. I miss you. Not the stuff, not a school, you. I just want you to be my mom again, if you still want to. There was no signature, just that last line trailing off into white space like she'd run out of air. I read it twice. Then I folded it and placed it inside the drawer without a word. That night, I didn't knock on her door. I didn't leave a note in return. I didn't send a text. Some lessons need silence to settle, and some apologies have to float in the dark before they're answered. The next morning, she sat across from me at the table, quiet. Her eyes were swollen. She didn't touch her toast. Neither of us said anything, but for the first time in weeks, she didn't look through me. She looked at me, and in that look, there was something close to waiting. We sat on the back porch, Sunday morning mugs of tea between us, steam curling into the cool air. She hadn't asked to talk, but when I sat down, she followed. That felt like enough of a beginning. I read your note, I said. She nodded, eyes down. I meant it, I know. We sat for a while in the hush of the yard. No demands, no accusations, just the tension of two people who had circled each other too long without speaking what needed to be said. I can't pretend none of it happened, I said. But I'm willing to start again with conditions. Her eyes lifted to mine, cautious but open. You'll need to get a part-time job, weekends or afternoons. Something to teach you what it means to earn the things you want. She nodded. You'll also need to maintain at least a 3.5 GPA if you want any part of that college fund to remain an option. Another nod, a bit slower. And the most important one, respect. That means no shouting, no undermining, no entitlement. You don't have to agree with me, but you do have to treat this house and me with decency. This time, she swallowed hard before answering. Okay, I mean it, Selena. Trust doesn't reset with an apology. It rebuilds with time. I understand, she said. Her voice wasn't small. It was clear in that way truth sometimes is. I don't expect you to trust me yet. I looked at her for a long moment, but I want to. She smiled just a little. There's this girl at Prescott, she said after a pause. Naomi, she's in my AP Lit class. She saw my Instagram post before I deleted it and told me I sounded like a spoiled brat. I raised an eyebrow. She wasn't mean about it, just honest. She said, if your mom gave you everything and you threw it away for aesthetics, that's on you. Then she lent me her notes. Sounds like someone worth knowing. She is, Selena said. She's different. Real. I nodded and reached for my mug again. So are you. She didn't say anything back, just sat there beside me, wrapped in her sweatshirt, staring out at the fence, like maybe for the first time in a long time, she saw the edge of something and wanted to stay inside it. That afternoon, she offered to make dinner. The eggs were rubbery and the toast was burned, but she set the plate down in front of me like she was serving something precious. I didn't know you liked your bacon crispy, she said, sliding into the seat across from me, cheeks flushed. I didn't know you were learning to cook, I answered. She shrugged, trying. We ate in silence, but it was the kind that didn't need filling. No tension, no shame, just the quiet rhythm of two people figuring each other out again. In the weeks since our talk, Selena had stayed off social media. She deleted her influencer pages, archived the photos, and stopped counting likes. Instead, she started collecting community college brochures and asking about used cars. She'd picked up a weekend shift at the bakery 2 blocks down. Naomi helped her fill out FAFSA forms on a Saturday afternoon. I watched her move through these small adult steps with a kind of cautious pride. I didn't celebrate everything aloud. I didn't want her chasing praise. But I noticed sometimes at night I still heard her crying. Not often. Just enough to remind me that rebuilding comes with splinters. But she never cried over Era anymore, not once. Elra, for her part, posted a story last week with a picture of a sunset and the words, "Some people will use your love until it breaks you. Rise." Anyway, Rico was facing 3 years minimum for supplement fraud. Selena hadn't asked about either of them since the day she showed me her new work schedule. She'd made her choice. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. There was no victory in watching a child fall apart. But I had stopped losing pieces of myself trying to be someone I wasn't asked to be. Now we were just here. Me, this burnt breakfast, and a quiet Sunday. She looked up from her plate. "Do you want tea?" "Sure." She got up and filled the kettle. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't wonder if she'd come back to me. She already had.